Hi everyone, this is Ginger with Gingerberry Creek, and today's tutorial is going to be on how to attach the yarn hair to your primitive doll. I happen to be working on this unicorn, and so you'll need your pattern, of course, and then here's the head that's ready. I've already sewn the horn on. And I have also, if you look at your pattern, you'll see the places where you need to attach the yarn. So I've went ahead with a disappearing ink pen. I have went ahead and transferred the dots to the back of the head and the 3 spots on the front of the head right there around the horn. And so that way I have the guide of where I need to go for each spot. I'm also went ahead and here's the yarn that I happen to use for this particular one. It is comes in the color here. I have this information on the pattern as well, but I've gone ahead and cut all of my pieces. My little pieces of yarn here, and I have them in my piles ready to go. And so this is all ready for attaching, and that all that information would be on your pattern. So you'll also need your thread and your needle, which I've already went ahead and threaded this particular one. So let's start attaching. What you're going to do first is you're going to go ahead and knot your thread at the end just once, just to kind of hold the thread nice and straight. And then what we're going to do is start by going in here at the back of the head where this sewn slit is at. Just kind of below it, because we'll be attaching this to the body and you won't be able to see any of this. So just start here and go in at the sewn slit there, and then push your needle through and just pick one of the first dots somewhere and just come out right there. And then when you pull your thread, be sure to leave kind of a tail at the end so that we can knot off and hide the thread tails. So I like to kind of leave a nice long one to work with. So I have it here. Now what I'm going to do is come over about 1/8 of an inch or so from where my thread is. And I'm going to insert my needle back into the head, and then I'm going to have the needle come out next to, you know, as close as you can get to the where you first came out at. So, and then pull it down, pull your thread down until you get a loop. So now I've got my thread here is a loop, okay? And then you're going to take one of each of your strands of yarn. So you'll have the 4 on this particular pattern. It calls for the 4. So you're going to take the 4 and put them together. And then in this loop right here, you're going to insert the yarn into the loop, and halfway down just kind of fold it in half like this. That way it's in the center. Now I'm going to pull on this to pull it tight to the head. Okay, and be careful, because as you pull, your thread tail may disappear if you're not careful. For the first couple it may do that, so pull nice and tight. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do another loop around this to hold it nice and secure. So go back into the head, kind of where the other one is. You don't have to go in exactly the same spot, but just close to it anyway, and come back out on the other side. So we want to do that first loop, and then all we're doing is doing a second loop to secure. Make sure your yarn is out of the way as best as possible. Sometimes it likes to get a little tangled up. Alright, so now I'm just gonna pull on that and pull that down nice and tight. Okay, so that we looped around it twice now. So now what I'm gonna do is, I did that first one because that's kind of close to the slit. Now I'm gonna kind of work my way up to the top because I want to do the front 3 and then kind of work my way back down. So what you'll do is, now I'm going to insert back into the fabric, the head on this side again, but this time I'm going to put my needle and take it to another spot. So in this case, I want to go over here close to the ear. So I'm going to go up as high as I can, as far as your long needle will work or go. You know, you don't want to not be able to grab your needle. And then just watch this thread here. So in essence, you'll do the two, you'll make your first loop, you'll loop around to secure, and then that third loop will secure, and then you're moving to your next spot. So now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to here's my thread where it came out, over about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to insert and then come out over by my first, where the thread is at. I'm going to pull my thread down into a loop, straighten it up a little bit. So here I have my loop, and now I'm going to grab another yarn for, you know, one of each of the colors. There's no particular order of where they need to be because it's not going to matter. It's colorful, but you have one of each of the colors. I'm going to insert it into that loop. I'm going to hold it in half so that it's in the center, and then I'm going to pull my thread down, pull on the thread to pull the yarn to the head. Make it now at this point, your long thread tail shouldn't move because you've done this one and now you've done this one, and as you pull tight it should stay put. So now I'm going to make that other loop around. Be careful on around your ears like this. You don't want to catch the ear and sew it to the yarn. So I'm going to insert again on this side and then come out on the other side and pull down. And I just like to kind of grab them because I don't want a tangly mess. Just easier that way. To kind of hold on to it and straighten it up as it goes. That way you know it's on there nice and tight and not all tangled. Just pull tight. Okay. So we've done that one to get there. We've moved up to this one, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert again on this side of the yarn, and this time I'm going to push through to this side and do these front 3 spots. So going to come out on that side and then come back here and look at this, so because you know, with the thread, you don't want it getting tangled up or catching the yarn. So I just like to kind of hang on to it here. Pull it down nice and tight as you can. Okay. And now I'm going to I'm going to do these 3 spots, and then I'm going to move back to the back, and I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. If you run out of thread, that's okay. Just, you know, come out the slit here, knot off, hide the thread tails, and start again. So we're going to do these 3 on the front, and then we're going to start at the top here and work your way down. Now, if you have, you know, if your spacing is off and you need to fill in, that's okay. You know, I estimated about 30 of the spots, so 30 yarn places to give it a nice full mane. But if yours happens to be 32 or 28 and it's nice and full and it looks good, don't worry about it. So, you know, just do the best and fill it in the best way you can, and then we'll go from there. So let's do this one, and then I'll finish up and show you how to finish the knotting off and everything. So, all right, once again, I'm going to go in about 1/8 of an inch away, and then come out over by my beginning thread area where we came out the first time. I'm going to pull this down to a loop. Now on the front side, you'll need to be kind of extra careful because you've got the eyes. You don't want to catch your thread on your eyes. So okay, here's my loop. I'm going to go ahead and grab my 4 pieces of yarn, 1 of each color here. I'm going to insert that into this loop. And then kind of fold it in half and hold it. And then I'm going to pull down on the thread to pull it down to the head and pull it kind of snug best you can. Not too, don't pull real tight. I mean, it needs to be nice and snug to it, but you don't want to pull so tight that you break your thread. So, all right, so now I kind of open that back up, you know, the yarn pieces back up. I'm going to come over the yarn here, go back into the spot right here where the other loop was at, come back out on this side. You can get it as close as you can, or you can, you know, if it's not right in the same area, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Alright, so now I'm just going to pull these threads down until they're nice and snug to the head. There we go. Alright, so now the next step again is to go in on this side because we're coming over it again, and then we're going to move to our next spot. So I'm going to come on this side again of the thread. So essentially you're sewing it down 3 times, and that makes it nice and secure. So I'm into the head. I'm going to push over to this spot, and then watch these here because we don't want them tangled up into anything. We want the hair to look nice. So we're just going to pull this down till it's nice and snug. All right. So now I will continue to do this across the front here, and then we're going to flip it over and then kind of work our way back and forth from top to bottom, and then we'll tie off, and then we'll go from there. So we'll do that and finish up in just a minute. Okay, as you can see, I have done the spots on the front here. So here's the front yarn here that I did. And then I filled in the back here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more spot, which is, yeah, if you spread it all apart, you can see there's my dot over here. And where I'm at is right here. So I have one more to do, and then I'll show you how to finish up here. So I've got it all anchored down to the head. And now I'm going to go back into the fabric here next to these other threads. Remember, this is the last anchor. It's the third anchor, and we're moving over to the next spot. So here's my next placement. Just watch my thread here so it doesn't get caught up on anything. Pull it nice and snug. And be sure to I anchor each of these spots here, each of these clumps of hair, yarn hair, in different directions. So one time I'll, make a loop so it holds it down, straight across here. Another time I'll go at an angle so the hair is in different directions. So on this last one, I'm going to not make it straight up and down to where the hair lays across like this. I'm just going to go off to the side here. And I'm going to make this loop to insert our last grouping. So here's my loop again that I made. Now I'm going to take my yarn, gather them up here. So there's my 4 strands that are pre-cut. I'm going to gather them together, no particular order. I'm going to insert them into this loop, grab the other side here, fold the yarn in half to hang on to it, and then I'm going to pull my loop down to the head, nice and snug. And then I'm going to let those yarns lay open across there so that I can do the last couple of stitches here. So now again, I'm going to come on this side. We're going to loop around this again just to make sure it's anchored well. Come out over here. It doesn't have to be exactly where your thread was previously, but if you can get it close, that's good. I'm going to pull that tight, and then the last time now is I'm going to loop over this, pull it snug, but I'm going to bring my needle out over here next to my thread tail, because now we're going to knot off and finish this up. So I'm inserting on this side again. I'm going to push my needle now over to where that thread tail is. Grab it. And then I'm going to grab these threads so they don't tangle up. Try to bring them down. There we go. Now they're nice and snug. So, and as you can see, that filled in really nicely. So we're good. We're good on the front. If you happen to see a couple of spots that you would want to fill in, now would be the time to fill them in before you knot off and finish up. But all we're going to do is now we're just going to tie these 2 thread tails together nice and snug. I always double knot my threads just to make sure. And then where I had knotted on the beginning just to keep the threads together, I'm just going to cut the thread just below that knot so that we had 4 individual threads basically. And now I've got another needle here, and I'm gonna thread it onto this other needle. Just like that. So now it's threaded on that needle there. And then what you do is you go back into the felt here, and then push over to the side and half an inch, whichever, and then you pull it. Sometimes if you get it in the right spot and you pull the thread, the little knot will kind of snap up underneath the fabric. So hang on, pull these a little taut right there, and then clip them, and it disappears. Now those threads are up under here. The knot will not unravel because you've got the length on it. Sometimes if you cut it too close to a knot, over time it will unravel. So here is all of our threads, our yarns here for this unicorn's mane. And then at this point, all you would do is start trimming this down to where you would like it. So all I do is kind of start with the front, and you can look at the picture and kind of see where it's at as far as you know, how to trim it and stuff, but you definitely want to see his eyes. So I usually kind of trim just pull it away and then trim some more. It's always better to trim just a little bit at a time so that you know, you don't do too much, because you can always cut it again. You just kind of trim it up the way you like until you get the desired look. You know, there we go. So leave some a little longer than others. I usually trim the back up because they're usually all kind of different lengths. And then trim the sides some. And just keep doing it until you get him the where you like it. There's no particular way, just kind of, you know, work it. And as you can see on this particular pattern, I did it slightly below the ears so the mane would stick out some. And so just trim until he's complete, and then follow the directions for attaching the head. And that is how you attach the yarn for hair. I'm just going to trim up a little bit more here. And like I said, if for some reason you didn't get enough spots, that's okay. Go in and add some more here and there until you have it the way you want him to look. And there we go. That is how you attach the yarn for hair, either on like a Raggedy Ann doll or one of my primitive doll patterns, you know, this little unicorn, the lion, or anything that would have like a mane or hair and you want to use the yarn. So that is how it is done. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this tutorial has been helpful. And please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks. Bye.